Hello, and welcome to this episode of Phoenix Women podcast, where we share inspiring stories of women who have risen up from the ashes. Where women who I have worked with, I know, or have connected with, share how they've overcome difficulties and challenges in their lives, and they have stepped fully into their fiery selves. Hello, I'm Jane Mary. Welcome to this episode of the podcast. You can find more about me on my website, janemary.co.uk. I am a women's empowerment coach. I'm a shamanic practitioner, Reiki master, intuitive healer, and embodiment practitioner, working and focusing on reclamation for women. Before I introduce this episode's guest, I'm very excited to introduce. I'm just going to check in with you all. The usual check-in before I start these episodes is to check in with how you are. If anything arises within the podcast that you hear, please check in with yourself, take care of yourself and give yourself what you need. Connect with someone that you trust. If you want to chat with someone, maybe journal, get outside, get some fresh air. And really nourish and look after yourself. The aim of the podcast is to support you and to give you inspiration to find ways to look after yourself, particularly if you're going through any challenges through life, even in the day-to-day challenges that we might face. So if anything comes up that activates you, make yourself the priority and look after yourself. And another disclaimer, the usual disclaimer, is there might be swearing. I'm usually not too bad actually on this podcast, but there might be the odd one. So please check in with where you're listening, whether there's any young children around. So now I've done all of that informal stuff, I'm really excited to introduce this episode's guest. It's the wonderful Kim Summers, the holistic photographer. I'm super excited to have Kim on. We haven't chatted a lot about what we're going to talk about, so I'm really excited to see what comes up, what we chat about. So Kim is a holistic photographer. She works with holistic businesses, empowerment, and capturing magic, like collective magic. And she's super magical. I've had the honour and pleasure of being with Kim in Circle and working with her professionally. And she is, she definitely wants to be on your radar. So I'm very excited to have her on. So hello, Kim, welcome.
Oh, hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's brilliant having you here. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. Before we go on, do you want to tell us a little bit about your, start off with telling us a bit about your photography and
Yeah, of course. So, you pretty much nailed it in the intro, really. So that's what I do. I specialize in working with practitioners to help capture their magic. I think there's quite a stigma in the holistic world when it comes to kind of showing the world what you have to offer. And in the world that we live in, we have to market ourselves. We have to put ourselves out there and let people know that we're here and what we have available. And to do that, this can the images that I create with people, it can make a huge impact on the clients that they bring into their life. And this isn't about bringing in the ideal clients for money purposes. This is about bringing in the clients that need your magic that you're offering. I work with practitioners to showcase their businesses and their magic. And then I've got my empowerment experiences as well for individuals, and I work with gatherings and capture sacred ceremonies. So it's all very exciting.
It is, it really is. And I loved just touching on there, what you said. I love your work because you can feel behind it the intention is that it reaches the right people and that it is here for this community of people who are rising into, I mean, it sounds cliche, isn't it? But it is authenticity.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
what the world needs right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I think the reason why I feel so strongly about that myself is because that's been a huge part of my journey on this planet so far. it's been all about kind of like finding my identity and having the courage to express myself how I want to express myself and how I want to show up in the world, you know. So every experience I've kind of had up until now has led me up to this place of feeling empowered enough to stand in my own power, my own identity, and that's what I want to help other people do as well. And I want people to be proud of what they offer to the world as well. You know, the people that I meet, they're just magical beings, and they've got these amazing offerings, but they just haven't got like the confidence to put it out there to the world. And it's amazing how images can change that, because with powerful images, the images do the talking for you. They tell the story for you. So yeah, it's just exciting to be able to help people get that out into the world with you know, keeping that authentic that authentic feel in mind. That's the important bit for me.
Yeah, amazing, amazing.
Mm.
So, should we chat a bit how we met? I'm trying to. When I was
Yeah,
started making the notes, I was like, well, how did we meet? And I think it was at a workshop, wasn't it? A
yeah.
weekend.
Was it the boundaries? Was it a boundaries workshop? It was one of Ruth Cato's
It
workshops, wasn't it?
was, yeah.
I can't remember which one it was now. I remember, I can remember what you were wearing. I can remember your energy that day when you walked up the stairs. I was like, wow, she's a powerful woman. Like you took my breath away when you came up. Um, yeah, and I think it was like a boundaries kind of workshop. It was a powerful day that day.
Yeah, it was a big one, wasn't it? It was, and I
Mm.
think, um, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like that, having that space,
Yeah.
um, I feel is so important. I know for myself personally, to have that space to be your big self, um,
Yeah.
isn't it? And you know, I know that you're a mum as well, and I know, and even if you know people aren't mums and they have busy lives, it's really hard to find space to be your
Mm.
biggest, like big self, and
Yeah.
like unashamedly. And I, you know, those
Yeah.
spaces and those workshops are kind of, I think they're really important for everyone, aren't they? To
Yeah,
step in
definitely.
and just.
And that's what I remember about you. I remember you coming into the room. I think you were a little bit late. You were a bit
Oh,
flustered.
as usual, I'm always late, Kim. That's probably why I was at a boundaries workshops.
Flustered. But yeah, yeah. I just remember you coming up the stairs, and yeah, you had like so much fire energy about you. And then I was in awe. I was like, wow, like, you know, you've because for me coming into a space, I'm very worried about, you know, the standard stuff. What do people think about me? How do I need to act in this space? And to see you just come in and actually, like you say, just be your big self in that space, I was like, oh wow, that's so freaking cool. She's just walked up the stairs like angry, and she's just like, everyone, I'm here, but I'm angry and I've had one of those mornings. So I was just like, that's cool. And then that like was a really big indication to me that I was with kind of the right people, because we were all like, oh yeah, yeah, Jane's here.
We
You
need
know, it
those
wasn't a
spaces,
big
I
thing.
think, where we can just be like that, isn't it? And I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, it took me a long time as well to be able to do that,
yeah,
because, you know, I was exactly like you're saying. I'd be like, oh my God, well, what would people think of me if I just walked into a room and I was like, oh, I'm really fucking angry today. Um, But
yeah,
actually, I think the more that I felt into it, I realized, oh, actually, I'm not the only one feeling like this. I think actually there's a lot of us who are really fucking angry,
yeah,
and we're scared of
definitely.
showing how we feel. Um,
Mm,
and
yeah,
because we're scared of what people think, because women aren't meant to be angry, are they?
yeah, definitely.
I mean, they are in my book, but
Yeah, same here as well.
but yeah, thank you for that memory. Yeah, that is and I remember that workshop as well, because um yeah, you were definitely on my radar, because I could really feel your, like, I was like, wow, yeah, she kind of, yeah, she's connected, she knows her stuff.
Yeah.
And I think I could really sense that the work that was important to you, I could feel that there was like an overlap between what I was really feeling was
Oh,
important.
yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting to see what comes of it, isn't it? I think
It
there's
is
something there, isn't
definitely.
there?
Yeah, yeah. And I think when you say about that, feeling that connection, it's so right, because I found that the women that kind of come into my space that make me feel a little bit nervous, or make me feel a bit scared, or oh, like she's like a lot of woman, which is
Yeah.
amazing. But those women actually, those are the women that have been having the biggest impact on my life, and those are the women that I've had the most connection with as well. So it is like that. There's kind of that shadow feeling of insecurity and unsureness about how big somebody is. But that obviously that's on me. That's because I want to feel like that and I want to come into a room like that. But I found that if I really sit with that and allow that connection to unfold, that's where like the magic comes as well, which is cool.
Yeah, that's so fascinating, Kim, isn't it? I
Mm.
think that's something I really observed of myself when, and I think it was part of whether it's the sister wound, the feminine wound, but I really
Mm.
found that there were women in my life. And even with my best friend, I remember when I was 14, um, I quickly decided I didn't like those people. I was like,
Mm.
this woman is too much. Yeah, she's making me uncomfortable. I don't like her.
Mm.
Actually, those women in my life have turned out to be the women that I really love.
Yeah.
And, they have such an impact in my life. I remember my
Mm.
best friend I met when I was 14, she was came to our school. She had such incredible energy and she felt a lot. And I was like
Yeah.
straight away, oh no, hang on a minute. I don't think I like her.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 months later, I was like, oh my God, I love you.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
but yeah,
Yeah,
there's
it's
lots of
magic.
women. It is amazing,
Mm.
isn't it? And
Mm.
so yeah, I think there is definitely like you say with the shadow aspect, it's bringing it back to yourself, isn't it? Okay,
Yeah,
what's this bringing up for me?
yeah,
Right, this
exactly.
woman. Um, and normally there's like a little bit of gritty magic there to explore, isn't
Yeah,
there?
yeah, definitely.
Oh, I mean, yeah. So what a lovely memory of how we met. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so here we are. We're on the Phoenix Women podcast. So the intention is that we kind of I invite guests on to chat about maybe some difficulties they've had in life or just general challenges. I mean, it can be like a
Mm.
day-to-day thing, an overall general thing, or it can be a specific thing. Um, have you kind of had a little think that you feel like you want to share with them with us on the podcast?
Yeah, I think for me, and actually it feels quite right based on the conversations we've already had this morning, but I think probably just to kind of reflect on the challenges I've had around my identity and again kind of putting myself into the world as my authentic self. I think it would be good to kind of, yeah, reflect on my journey of that.
Hmm. So was that like an underlying thing you could feel? Um, or was there something that kind of there was a point that you got to that was like, right, okay, something has to change. What's going enough? Or was it
Yeah,
a very like gradual, slow thing?
I think there definitely was a point. I think yeah, it did build up, but I think there was a point. I think from when I was younger, I kind of knew I was like a little bit different to people anyway. Um, I couldn't quite connect with people, friends, and I wasn't ever myself. I didn't really know who myself was, and obviously your maiden years are all about exploring, who you are and what you like and what you don't like. And I couldn't connect with myself. I found myself just copying and mimicking other people.
Mm.
I liked things that other people liked because I thought that was the right thing to do. I
Mm.
didn't really give myself a chance,
Mm.
which I kind of, I, I'm still grieving that. I think I didn't give myself an opportunity to just take a step back and be like, no, you don't need to worry about what other people are kind of doing and wearing and what they like. And um, but yeah, it was just easier, I think, for me to live in the social world, to live in the world, um, to just copy people and mimic people. And then my authentic self, my identity, I just didn't have one. And that brought on a whole host of issues for me as I was growing up because I didn't have boundaries. I didn't know what my boundaries were. I didn't feel safe in myself, so I relied on other people to make me feel safe. But that would kind of manifest in the form of men. So I would end up with chasing men that actually I didn't really want to chase.
Mm.
Um, but I was craving that sense of acceptance and safety. And I just wanted someone to be like, I see you. That's all I wanted. I see you. And when I look back now, I mean, we all look back and say, it's easy to look back, isn't it? But when I look back and I think, I wish I could have just looked in the mirror at myself and said that to myself, I see you.
Yeah.
I wish I'd had a figure around me at that time to say, you're bloody fantastic. Look at you. You're marvelous, marvelous. You're wonderful. But I didn't have that. And that's okay, because I obviously had some lessons to learn in that time. But yeah, it just meant that I got married really young. I was 21 when I got married. Again, I was craving that safety. That's what I wanted. And I had my first son when I was 24. And then I got to the point where I was 26, and yeah, probably slowly about to move into the mother phase of my life. Bearing in mind I'd already been a mum for about 4 years. So, I was not mature enough to kind of handle the life that I'd created around me. And then yeah, 26, I was just like, no, this isn't right. So obviously there's lots of little events that led up to this, but it was at 26 I really thought, like, I'm not happy, I'm not myself, I don't know who I am. I was trying to navigate exploring who I was, so revisiting my maiden years whilst being a mother as well.
Yeah.
So I was relying on family members to help me look after my little boy. My husband at the time wasn't really, readily available to help, which led to the breakdown of our relationship. So at 26, I was just like, no, like this, I can't do this anymore. I can't be married. I'm not with the right person.
Mm.
I need to bring it back in and focus on me. So yeah, 26, 27 was a really big turning point for me.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's a lot to pack in, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
I absolutely hear you as well with the being a mother while you're in the maiden years. As a lot of people know that I've shared, I was became a mother at 18. So my
Mm.
maiden years were completely taken over by being a mother. So there is
Mm.
something there, isn't there, of it's the hardest thing, mothering yourself and being a mother.
Yeah, definitely. It's really hard. And you do look back, don't you? You reflect on your life, and I think, what would I have done differently? I absolutely adore my son. He's so special to me, and he's
Yeah.
brought me some amazing lessons.
Mhm.
And I was meant to have him at that time, but it doesn't make it any less difficult that
No, absolutely.
navigating. And I was just a child. I remember going in and giving birth, and I was so scared. I didn't know what to expect. I just It was just so scary. Um, but yeah, as I say, life lessons nevertheless.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Hearing you talking about, in your maiden years and trying to, figure out who you are, like,
Mm.
and the thing of copying, mimicking, that's what we're given, aren't we? We're given,
Mm.
we're shown what we're meant to be like, or what we're
Mm.
meant to do, what we're meant to wear, in
Mm.
this kind of culture that we're in. So actually to step out of that and to take some space and question, who am I? What is it that I like doing? It
Mm.
takes bravery, I think, because it can step out of what we're told and shown that we should be doing. Um,
Yeah,
and I really loved that reflection you had, actually. I think we all so desperately want to be seen. And the most important person that to see us is ourselves.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Um,
and I'm still exploring it now. I haven't just
yeah,
like, I'm 34 now, and I'm still very much exploring. But I think what I'm grateful for is the kind of people that I've met in, especially the last kind of five years, the people that I've met, the workshops that I've been to, the women that I've sat with, they've all had a huge impact on how I see myself and how I live my life, really. And it's enabled me to really dig into who I am, and what I like and what I don't like and what I want to do. And again, it's really helped having such a supportive partner as well, because he has definitely held that space for me. He's given me a platform, and he said, just be yourself. I don't want anybody else but yourself. the good bits, the bad bits, you know, when you feel like you're crazy or angry. And I've never had, other than sitting in circle with women, I've never had that space held for me. And I think it just goes to show how important that space is, because with him giving me like the go ahead, you know, he's given me security. He's saying to me, be who you want to be and do what you want to do. And I'm here for it, and I'm going to be with you, you know, for the ride. And that's just huge, because it gives you like this freedom that you're just like, yeah, I can do this, and I'm still going to be accepted,
Yeah.
which is amazing. So yeah, I think even the last 5 years have been pretty life changing for me.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah. And it's that witnessing as well, isn't it? You've got someone
Yeah.
beside you, and that kind of real holding of someone who's got your back.
Mm,
But I think the most important thing to get to that point, I don't know if you find this, Kim, was, you have to have your own back first before
yeah.
someone else can support you as well. Like, so that
Oh
I think
yeah, 100%.
recognizing of seeing yourself and then kind of that
Yeah,
flight forward with someone like, yes.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think that's when yeah, because you go into that with like your self-worth, don't you, and your boundaries. So you kind of lay the cards on the table and you say, I'm not going to put up with this, I'm not going to deal with that, you know. So yeah, I think definitely that the whole self-worth and recognizing who you are and what gifts you have to the world, things like that, it makes a huge impact on relationships, not just like partners that you're in love with, like friendships as well, and people that
Yeah.
you work with.
Yeah.
It has a huge impact on that.
So how did you, so that leads into how easy did you find that, Kim? Because actually, when you suddenly start to shift and realize who you are, it
Yeah,
perhaps doesn't match with the perception that your friends or, family or people that know
yeah.
you, it can be quite confusing for people around you. How easy or not did you find that?
It was hard. It was hard. It was a journey for sure. So I was kind of I'd been in the corporate world for years and years. Since I was 16, I had my first office job, little admin job. And from 16 onwards, then I just stayed in the corporate world. And so I went from kind of filing papers to being the personal assistant for a CEO of a company. So I put a hell of a lot of pressure on my shoulders, you know, and I I was this kind of career driven. I wanted to be that person that I was a single mom as well. Kind of when I got into this phase of really pushing for my career, I was a single mom. So there was an element of I need to protect our lives. I need to make sure we've got the money coming in and things like that. So as well as being a mother, a young mother still and single, I was then putting pressure on myself to have this amazing career and be the best version of myself in the corporate world that I could be. Um, and yeah, it just didn't align with me. I was mimicking other people. I was trying to meet standards that I couldn't meet, and that was exhausting me. And I think when COVID hit as well, we all had this moment of we had this space to reflect on our lives and our jobs and what we wanted to do. Um, but it really made me realize actually I was having calls at work and coming off them and going to my bed and crying my eyes out because I was that exhausted about trying to be present in somebody's body it wasn't mine. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. It did not make sense. And yeah, I knew that there was a change that was going to happen. It was quite gradual. Um, so my partner brought me a camera for Christmas a few years ago, and he was like, "I really want you to tap into some creative side, you know, just go out and get some pictures." So I went outside and took some pictures, and it was nice, but I just got bored of taking like landscapes and things like that. And I was like, very quickly, I was like, I want to take pictures of people. I feel like that's what I want to do. So I just kind of reached out to friends and people that I knew, and yeah, I started to take some photos, completely self-taught. And I did this alongside still working full time in my office job.
Right.
But then it got to like a year on, and the photos that I were taking, they were getting better and better and better. People were contacting me. can you cover my wedding? Can you do this? And I was like, oh my goodness, like this, this could be something. But I was always too scared to jump into it fully.
Yeah.
Just because, again, I've been conditioned to think that a full-time kind of corporate job is the safety. You've got a pension, you've got sick pay if you're ever ill, you've got help if you need it. Da, 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 da. So I was still kind of, no, that's my safety. I need to stay in a full-time job. There's no way I could go self-employed. So I started doing it on the side. And then March last year, well, it was January last year, we got notified of there was going to be like 200 redundancies.
Right.
And I'd been there for quite a few years, and I was like, oh, okay, this is my kick up the bum from the universe to say, here you go, you're going now. Have some money to help you get started.
Right.
And you're going now. So yeah, then I just kind of went self-employed, and the last year that I've been self-employed, working for myself, doing my photography, doing what I love, I have never felt more alive. I have never felt happier. I have never felt more connected to myself. It's just been the most incredible year. And I just think, oh, all of these years I've wasted doing something that didn't align with me and who I am. But actually, no, that's okay, because within those years, I learned different skills. I learned how to use a computer, how to use social media, how to do digital creation, and all those little things that I learned have helped me create what I've created now. So it was meant to happen. But yeah, you just think, wow, if I'd have just realised like 5 years ago or 10 years ago. But yeah, it's been a magical journey. Not easy, but it's
Yeah.
been magical.
Yeah, amazing. And nothing's wasted. I think that's like one,
No,
that you go through. Nothing's
yeah,
ever wasted. You use it, and it's amazing. Like when you're in it, you think, well, how am I going to use this? What use is this? When you're kind of um, kind of whatever job you're doing. Like
mm,
there's always something from it that you'll take and use.
always. And it can be the smallest of things as well. I think for a short time, I kind of fell into health and safety. And that was my kind of plan. I was going to be a health and safety advisor. So I started looking after the health and safety of a workshop. And, there's things that I've taken from that. And now I'm very aware of where I work and who I work with. And I'm able, little things like that, I'm able to keep my clients safe, because we go off to,
Yeah,
me and you, we walked up that big hill and things like that. So
yeah,
it's just like you say, you don't realize it at the time, but everything is there, because it's part of your magic, or it's going to be part of your toolkit, everything. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love that. Yeah, I always say I love the toolkit. I
Mm,
kind of always visualize next to people like they've got a toolkit, whatever you need.
yeah.
Like, what have you got in your toolkit that you can use?
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. And walking up that hill. So the photos that I use on my social media and website and things are from um a shoot that we did last autumn, end of the summer, wasn't it? And yeah, it was interesting. I contacted you, I think it was probably about a year ago, because I'd seen some photos that you did. And I remember feeling, oh, wow, yeah, this is because for a while I'd been looking for a photographer. And then I saw those photos and I was like, oh, yes, I could feel behind it the kind of intention that you had and the creativity. And the quality of them was just, I was like, oh, yeah. But then it took me a while to contact you again. I broke my ankle and
Mm.
I was basically, the universe slowed me right down. So I had to like be very like fully present. So yeah, I contacted you when I was ready to like to get these photos done. Yeah, and it was such a great experience. And we had a quick chat just before we started recording this podcast about this feeling of like it's really important to be in that kind of vulnerable position and place to experience what it's like for our clients and for your,
Mm.
for what they experience, because it gives you that real compassion and empathy, doesn't it, of holding that space for
Definitely.
them, because as you're
Definitely.
doing, you're not just taking photos, you're really holding space for people, aren't you?
Yeah, and I do, I do it without it's hard to describe. I do it without even without the other person realizing, and if we can go back to your shoot and use that as an example, if that's okay. I remember at the top of the hill, you had an incredible moment of connection, you know, and as well as me taking the photographs, I'm just, you know, thinking in my mind, like, she's so protected right now, she's so held, this is her hill, you know, and I'm kind of sending out that energy of this is your space. And you know, whether that has an impact on you or not, it doesn't matter because you're in your space doing your thing. But
Yeah.
it's not just a lot of the time when you think about having photographs taken, it could be quite a cold transition.
Yeah.
You know, you think you get a stranger come with this big lens in your face, and I pride myself really in connecting with my clients and not being that kind of transactional person, that transactional photographer. I'm interested in what you do. And when I come into your space, you know, I'll look at things and ask you questions and, oh, what's this? What's this? Because genuinely care. I want to know what you do because that will then help me like create all of the images as well. But yeah, I think it's so important, especially in like this line of work as well. When I work with a practitioner, they're offering something very, very special. And if you were to just get any photographer to come and capture that for you, is that going to have the same impact? Or do you want somebody to come and understand what you do and really connect and resonate with that and then capture the images? Because there's magic in it.
Mm.
And that's when I find the magic kind of unfolds. And it makes you as the client feel easier as well, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
more relaxed because it's scary having your photo taken. I
Oh,
hate
it
having
is.
it taken.
I remember when you first, because I was, you know, I was thinking, oh, I hadn't had my like professionally photo for a long time. And I thought, oh yeah, I'll be fine. As soon as you got that camera out, I was like, I froze. It was hilarious. I was like, I do not know what's going on. But after a
I
little
know.
while, I was all right. But yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
it
And
was,
that's why I was
it was,
just like, I said, just go and make a cup of tea. I'll just take a photo of you making a cup of tea. Because
I
it's
think
weird, you know, you
it
got
was the most
someone coming
awkward
into
cup
your
of tea I've ever made, I
awkward cup of
think.
tea. Uh, it's weird having someone come into your space. And, you know, I get to go into some amazing workshops as well, which is something that I love. Um, because obviously I'm capturing images of people working in their workshops. So I get to see all of these spaces that people hold their one-to-ones or they create their art. And
Yeah.
I just, it's not just a case of me going in and taking photos. Like I have so much respect for that space as well. And I honor that space. I'm not coming in as just a cold individual. I'm coming in and being like, wow, this is someone's home. And wow, look at her altar. That's incredible. And it's little things like, you know, I won't touch people's stuff without asking them. Their crystals. Can
Yeah.
I touch this crystal? Are you okay if I can move this? And this looks really special. Can we work with this? So um yeah, I think definitely being quite an intuitive person is important. Um, but being able to connect with people on a much deeper level, it definitely creates a different kind of magic.
Yeah. And I suppose kind of that exploring through your maiden years and now coming into like fully into your mother,
Mm.
you know, and connecting with who you are. I suppose that takes your ability to do that to a deeper level, doesn't it? Than if you were just living and existing on that kind of um
Oh yeah, like surface level.
surface level. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's having an understanding of a woman's life, because I work with women, and having an understanding of a woman's cycle is huge because obviously it's impacted by so many things, as we know, the seasons and you
Yeah.
know your personal menstrual cycle, the moon, and these are all things that I take into account as well, especially this year. You know, I'm making a big decision to have these open conversations with clients about their bleed, you know, being mindful when we book your shooting, where are you going to be on your cycle when we book the shooting? Are you going to feel at your most confident then? Or do you want to do it during your bleed when you've got that real deep inner connection? Like, where are you going to feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah.
And again, all of these beautiful things that I've learned in my toolkit,
Yeah.
they're now coming together and creating this amazing offering that's hopefully you know, the clients are going to find the experience very empowering and transformative.
Yeah, I love that, Kim. I think having bringing that, you know, that conversation into your work, it just
Mm.
brings permission for people to talk about their menstrual cycle, doesn't it? And their bleed time
Yeah.
and really kind of bringing some embodiment and acknowledgement of connection with their body, which
Yeah, and
we're
asking
not, which our children and our girls and boys aren't taught. We're just taught to
exactly.
override that, aren't we? And
Exactly. And, it's a conversation starter. We're asking questions. And, my dream is that I have a client come to me and they want an empowerment shoot. And then I say to them, amazing, when do you want to book it in for? Let's bear in mind where you're going to be on your cycle. And they might not be aware. They might be like, what's she on about? But
yeah,
then they'll ask the question, what do you mean? And then we can go into it. And it's very tied into what I want, how I want to offer my empowerment shoots anyway.
yeah,
But it's about these causing these kind of tiny ripple effects and educating people. And because I'm so grateful for the women that I've sat in circle with and the stories that I've learned and the teachings that they've shared with me. So I feel the least I can do in this world is, share that with as many people as I can. So
yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how I want to align that with my photography.
No, that feels so great. That's amazing.
Mm.
Yeah, and I love the what you're just touching on then with the sitting in circle and what you've
Yeah,
learned from other women. And
yeah,
we can go to these workshops and we can listen to the podcast, we can read the book, but the greatest learning we can get, I think, is just from listening and really being present for each other,
mm.
without that judgment, and really witnessing other people, and
Yeah,
hearing
definitely.
stories. I think that's, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. And that's why, this podcast is incredible because, you're inviting women onto the podcast just to talk about their experience because my experience, hopefully some of it will resonate with somebody and it
Oh,
might kickstart
yeah,
something in them and it might it might be a conversation starter for them as well. Or, so that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about being open
yeah,
and sharing that. Definitely.
yeah, amazing. So I wonder, Kim, I'm going to put you on the spot now. So I
Okay.
wonder if going back to maiden you, or like,
Yeah.
I don't know, 16-year-old you,
Yeah.
or even 24-year-old you when you had your first child, like what advice, what kind of message would you give them? What would you tell them?
Um, okay. It would probably be the message would be like you are gonna be okay. That's that's a huge message. Like everything is going to be okay. Um, I think I always had this feeling of dread when I was younger that I had to get my life together really quickly and or else everything was going to kind of tipple over and the world was going to explode. But it's going to be okay. Go with the flow, definitely a huge one. Go with the flow. And just I would just like to look at myself in that mirror and just be like you are enough and you are worthy and it's okay. And yeah, I just want to look at myself in the mirror and say that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
amazing.
Mm.
I love that. And if anyone's listening and they are having, they are kind of maybe going through that thing of figuring out who they are, what kind of first step, is there anything that you would, apart from I suppose the advice of what you give your younger self, but is there anything that you could suggest that would be a good kind of, for that one step forward?
Yeah, I think definitely surround yourself with the right, I don't like the phrase the right people, but surround yourself with people that you feel a connection with. Surround yourself with people that hold space for you and hear you and witness you. Um, I think that's so important because that will give you that space then to explore yourself and grow. You're completely worthy, aren't you, of being surrounded by good people. You don't have to put up with toxic energy, negative energy. You have the power to step away from that at any point. And it's not easy. It's not always easy. I have had to I've disconnected from a lot of my friends, especially from school. I had friends in the workplace that I don't see anymore. And there is like a grieving process that comes with that. But if we were to sit in a room together, we don't really have a connection. Um, and I have to be honest with myself about that with people. And it has meant that I've had to kind of just not cut people off and say, right, that's it, we're not friends anymore. But gradually I've just let it flow, really. So my kind of thinking is, if people are meant to be in your life, they will. That's the big one, isn't it? And I found that the people around me now, the people that message me and check in with me and want to meet me, things like that, are the people that I align with energetically. I don't try and force myself to be with people that I'm not aligned with. And that's had a huge impact, because it's taken away that stress of having to pretend to be somebody that I'm not. I can't keep up with a certain circle of friends, because I just don't. We live differently, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I've taken that pressure off myself. And moved across to a different group of friends that I'm more aligned with, and they're easier to be with. They understand me, and family as well. That's hard. It's really hard. I've always kind of been like the strange one in the family anyway. But I think really there has been a big disconnect with definitely my parents as well, over the last few years. And I've just given myself lots of love around that. Like, it's okay to do that. They're still my parents. I'm still their daughter. I can speak to them, reach out to them. They can reach out to me. But I know that I don't have to have I don't have to have them say, yes, we agree with what you're doing all the time. I don't need that. I agree with what I'm doing, and I agree with how I'm living. I don't need that. And there's a word for it, I can't think.
Like validation, isn't it?
Validation, yeah. I don't need that. I've stopped chasing for that. And I think once you stop chasing for that, you move into a much more empowered space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
It is. It's can be a rough road, can't it? But
Yeah, definitely.
I think
I
it's
feel I,
definitely.
I feel tired. I'm 34 and I feel so tired. I think, oh my God, all the stuff all the journey that I've been on. But yeah, it's been so worth it though. Yeah.
And I think it catches up with you as well. So I think,
Mm.
I don't know, I'm a bit of a believer that if you do it when it arises rather than pushing it down, it kind of, I'm in it for the long game. It's that's the phrase that keeps coming to me, like the long game, isn't it? So it's kind of taking action as it arises rather than
Yeah, and
brushing
that's
it under the
one
carpet.
one thing that I've learned, kind of sitting in circle with women, and the work, that I've done with Ruth as well. It's like, just sit with it. And at first you like, what does that even mean? Just sit
Yeah.
with it. What am I sitting with? It doesn't make any sense. But when you do, just kind of, I remember kind of learning about, my menstrual cycles and the impacts that has on my daily life and things like that. And I used to be the first person to dose myself up with paracetamol, ibuprofen, to take the pain away of my period.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I realised, actually I just need to lie in bed and feel the pain, it was painful. It was uncomfortable, and I used to cry with it. But I thought, I'm not taking the tablets anymore. I don't want to numb the pain anymore. There's something in this. Why am I feeling this pain? And then I started to learn about honouring myself within my cycle. And every month it got easier, every month. And now I don't have pain when I bleed. I bleed beautifully. I don't even think about period pains. I'm just like, oh, I'm bleeding. And so it's definitely, there's stagnant energy there. There's trauma there. There's imprints there that have to be healed.
Yeah.
And yeah, once you heal them, it is painful to sit with it. And that's my metaphor. I imagine myself in bed all curled up in the fetal position, like, oh, it hurts so much. And yeah, it does, but I remember lying there just honoring it. I couldn't do anything else. So, and it was amazing how quickly my experiences of my bleed changed by doing that.
Yeah, yeah. That's really powerful to hear. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm.
And there is, and simply like sitting with it is just simply feeling.
Yeah.
It's just whether it's a physical thing or an emotional thing, to sit with something is just simply just to feel it.
Yeah, not have to have all the answers, not try and figure it out all the time.
Yeah, it's exhausting, isn't it? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just feel it and then really finding ways to take care of yourself. So it's like
Mm.
you know, feeling the pain of your menstrual bleeds. So taking care of yourself was just really nurturing yourself, wasn't it? So,
Yeah, yeah,
and it
definitely.
doesn't last forever.
No, it's that's it. It's the cycle. Yeah, nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I look forward to it now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's awesome, isn't it? Well, you are bloody fantastic, Kim
Oh,
Summers.
thank
So
you.
I'm really grateful. I've loved chatting, and I could quite happily sit chatting with you for
I
ages,
know. I
but
know.
I'm quite conscious of the time. So thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
For anyone who's interested in working with you and wants to find out more, where can they find you and all your
Yes.
information?
So my website is theholisticphotographer.co.uk. So from there you'll be able to get links to my socials, Instagram and Facebook. And everything's on my website, and I've got some brochures that you can kind of download and learn a bit more. But I'm literally only a message away. As I say, my service is a very personal service. So I can't put everything on my website. I prefer to have a one-to-one chat with people and understand what they want and how I can help them. So yeah, just drop me a message on Instagram or Facebook, or drop me an email, and I'd love to have a chat.
Perfect. Oh, thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you.
Great. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Lots of love, everyone.